The fitness routine that built my physique is probably way more boring than you might think. It's not a crazy workout plan, a perfect diet, a bunch of supplements, and it is definitely not some secret method that nobody else has. It is mostly the same workouts, the same meals, the same habits, and the same basics just repeated over and over again for a long period of time. And that is actually exactly why it works. Because the routine that changes your body is very, very rarely the most exciting one. It is the one that you can repeat. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly why boring fitness works so much better than most people think, what that actually looks like, and how to build a routine that gets results without taking over your entire life. And the reason that I can speak on this is because I spent the first couple years in the gym doing the exact opposite. I used to always think that I needed more exercises, rules, complicated workouts, some secret supplements, but the more that I added, the harder fitness became to follow. Once I stopped trying to make fitness exciting and simplified everything instead, I made more progress in 1 year than I did in the first 2 years of lifting. And I started by making it repeatable, and that is what the difference was. So when I say boring works, I'm not necessarily saying that you should put in less effort. But what I absolutely am saying is that the routine should be simple enough that you can actually execute on it for years to come, because that is what is going to change your body. Most people think that fitness needs to feel exciting for it to work. Whether it's new workouts, special exercises, strict diets, and crazy supplement stacks combined with some insane new method, just something that feels fresh, but your body does not actually care if your routine is exciting. Your body cares about what you are repeating. So if you keep on training hard, eating well, recovering, and just showing up long enough, your body has to change. And that is why boring actually works, because boring is easy to repeat, and repeating is what builds your physique. So I want to break this down into the very, very boring parts of fitness that actually do matter and drive results. The stuff that looks simple from the outside, but realistically is what is going to make the most progress when it comes to your physique. The first boring thing that works is repeating your workouts. And this one sounds obvious, but most people never do it. They go into the gym and every single week, every single workout looks different than the last, whether it's different exercises, machines, a different order with different rep ranges, and another new plan. And in their head, they feel like the variety and all of these differences should actually help them to make progress. But the overwhelming majority of the time, it is just making progress harder to measure. Because if every single workout changes, how do you really know if you're improving? You don't. You're just guessing, and guessing is not a sustainable way to build a good physique. And when it comes to the routines that built all of the best physiques that you see on people today, chances are they are far less exciting than you might expect. You repeat the same key exercises week after week, you pay attention to your reps, your weight, your form, and your effort, and then you try to improve. That is it. It's not exciting, but it absolutely does work. Think about bench press, for example. If 1 week you go and you do 135 pounds for 8 reps, and then a few weeks later you do 135 pounds for 12 reps, that is a guaranteed sign of progress that you are moving up in the gym. Another sign of progress could be going from 135 pounds with 8 reps to going to 155 pounds with 8 reps. That again is another guaranteed sure sign of progress. But you can only see that progress if you repeat the lift long enough to improve it. And this is where most people mess up, because they quit the thing before the thing has time to work. They'll do a workout for 2 weeks, get bored, see something new online and switch to it. And they do the same thing again over and over. And after months of training, no real strength or progress has really been built up. You simply need a good workout that you can repeat, push hard, and improve time and time again. That is how training is going to start showing up on your body. The second boring thing that absolutely works is eating the same foods. And this is where most people look at me sometimes and wonder, well, how do I even stay in shape without making fitness look like a huge complicated thing? Because from the outside, my food does look pretty simple. Eggs, beef, chicken, rice, potatoes, fruit, sourdough, cheese. Simple meals, nothing crazy, but that is exactly the point of it. Because the less random my food is, the easier it is to stay consistent and make progress towards my goal. Yet most people are making eating so much harder than it needs to be, because every single meal becomes a decision. Well, what should I eat? How much should I eat? Is this good for me? Should I track this? And when you're motivated, that might actually be fine, but as soon as real life inevitably happens, when you're busy, hungry, you're exhausted, you no longer want to make the perfect decision. You want to make the easiest decision available, and this is where most people tend to fall off. But boring food, on the other hand, fixes that by replacing all of those decisions with structure, because you already know what to eat, you already know what meals work, you already know what foods are easily available. So as soon as you get hungry, you don't need to figure everything out. You just eat the meal and you make progress towards your goal, and that removes so much friction. And of course, as soon as you remove that friction, consistency becomes a whole lot easier. There's one thing to note when it comes to making your food boring, because I don't want you to think that you have to eat the same exact thing every single day till the end of time. The point is that you should have a small group of meals that you can always rely on. A few sources of protein, carbs, and fats that support your goals, and of course, a few things that you enjoy here and there too. that is more than enough in order to build a fantastic physique. Chances are you simply need fewer, better options, because the more options that you have, the more decisions that you have to make. And the more decisions that you have to make, the easier it is to fall off track. So boring food is like an overlooked system that just makes the right choice a whole lot easier. And of course, if the right choice is easier, you are much more likely to keep on doing it. The third boring thing that works is boring recovery. And this one does not sound exciting at all. Sleep, rest, taking days off, getting sunlight and hydrating, taking overall good care of your body. Nobody wants to hear that as much as they want to hear about a new supplement or a new training method. But recovery is one of the biggest reasons people either keep on progressing or start falling apart. A lot of people think that you grow in the gym, but truthfully, you do not grow in the gym, okay? The gym is where you're actually breaking down the muscle, and recovery is where that muscle rebuilds and you get stronger. So if you train hard, but you sleep terribly, you eat randomly, and beat your body down every single day, you're not actually giving your body a good chance to build and recover from everything that you're putting it through. So what actually matters when it comes to boring recovery? The first one being going to bed around the same time and getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep every single night. The second one is having rest days. I'd recommend between 2 and 4 a week, depending on your goals and your schedule. The third one is consuming enough quality food and getting enough protein through that as well. And all of these may sound basic, but I want to assure you that basic is not the same as useless, okay? Basic is usually what people skip because it sounds boring and it sounds simple, but I promise you it's actually what drives 90% of results. But when they're skipping these basic foundations, everything else gets a lot harder. Your workouts are going to feel difficult, your cravings become worse, your energy drops, your motivation isn't there, and your body starts to just feel beat up. I'm sure if you ever missed a good few nights of sleep, you know exactly what this feels like, and if you're training and putting your body through a lot, it's even worse. And surprisingly, at this point, I see a lot of people start looking to other things, whether it's a new supplement, a new plan, but a lot of the time, the answer is so much simpler, and it's just that you are not recovering properly. That's why recovery needs to become a very, very conscious and important part of your routine. Not something that you only do when you absolutely have to or after you've already burned out. It should be part of the system because that system is what is going to overall build the results. Because if you do want to train for years to come and build a great physique that you have for the rest of your life, you need your body to be able to handle it, and being able to handle it comes from recovery. Now, yes, recovery is usually very boring, but it absolutely does work. The fourth boring thing that works is simply doing the same basics for a long period of time. And usually this is the part that nobody wants to hear because everyone wants the fast results. They want the 30-day transformation. They want the perfect plan and the thing that is going to make everything happen instantly. But your body changes very, very slowly through repeated effort and consistency. Not just a perfect day, an insane workout, or a clean meal. Repeated, consistent actions for a long period of time. You need to be doing the basics again and again and again. Training hard, eating well, sleeping well, showing up, and eventually your body will start to look different if you stay consistent, but that is how this works. The problem is that most people quit before the boring part has enough time to compound and to get them results. Because yes, they do start that new routine, they do it for a week or so, and they don't see much change, so they start doubting it. They start thinking, well, this isn't working, maybe I need a new plan. But oftentimes the problem is not the plan. It's just that you haven't repeated it long enough in order to see results. And this is where a lot of people think that there's some sort of secret hidden. But truly, the only secret is in doing the very, very boring things for a long period of time, showing up, training hard, putting in the work, and just staying consistent. Now, this is why boring consistency is so powerful, because it removes all of these weird things that you see influencers pushing in these YouTube videos about that are just going viral online. Thankfully, you don't need to do crazy impressive things like wake up every single day and go for a 5-mile run and then train for 3 hours. You know exactly what you already need to do. Train hard, eat well, recover well, stay consistent, and keep on going. Over time, this is going to become your new normal, and that is when fitness starts to become actually a lot easier. Not because the work is going to disappear, but just because you get a lot more used to the decisions, and this becomes adapted to your normal life. You're no longer going to be restarting every few weeks. You're just going to be living this routine because it is part of your lifestyle, and that is where the results really do start to build and show through. But you know deep down that your routine only starts to look easy because the decisions that you are making are kind of just gone. And this is a part that a lot of people miss, because on the outside, a boring routine looks and sounds like low effort. It can look like you are not doing that much, you're not tracking every single thing, you're changing workouts constantly and obsessing over every single detail. And people look at it and think, well, how does this guy just make it look so easy? But you know that it is not easy, it is simple, and that is the difference. Simple means that the plan is clear, it means you know what to do, and it means that you're removing the decisions that used to hold you back and make everything harder. Now, what that does not mean is that you stop training hard. It doesn't mean that you just have no care whatsoever or that there is no discipline involved. It just means that that discipline is working hard, it's concentrated, and it is consistent towards a few things that are realistically driving results. Boring routines work so well because they make the important things easier to repeat. And when the important things are easier to repeat, results become a lot more predictable, a lot more simple, and a lot more consistent. So if someone looks at your routine and says, well, that just looks and sounds too simple, how is that actually going to work and get you results? They might just be missing the point, because the best routine is not the one that impresses the most people or sounds the best on paper. It is always going to be the one that you can stick to, that you can follow, and helps you to achieve your goals. So what does a boring fitness routine actually look like? It might look something like this. When it comes to training, you follow the same split, repeat the same main exercises, you push your sets close to failure, and you try to get stronger over time. Now, when it comes to nutrition, you are eating mostly the same simple foods, you're prioritizing protein as the base of every single meal, you're eating whole foods around 90% of the time, the other 10% you can be a little bit more flexible and enjoy yourself. You're eating good sources of carbs from things like fruit, rice, sweet potatoes, sourdough bread. You have healthy fats that fit into your meals, whether it's cheese, butter, olive oil, things along these lines. When it comes to recovery, you're sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night in a cool, dark room. You're getting your movement in, you're getting some sunlight daily, you're making sure you're hydrating and taking days off of the gym. All that you have to do is repeat these same basics over and over and over and over again. That's it. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing impressive on paper. But if you actually do that for months or years on end, your body is guaranteed to change. That is the part that most people do not seem to fully believe, because they think that the answer has to be more advanced or some special secret that they've never heard of. But most of the time, the answer is just doing the simple things long enough for them to finally show through. And that is what built my physique. Not an insane routine or some crazy, perfect, strict diet, but a boring system that I could repeat, that I could stick to, and that drove results. And I've been through the full journey myself, because when I first started, I wanted fitness to feel more exciting than this. I wanted a perfect workout. I wanted the best exercises. I wanted the best way to eat. I wanted the new thing that was just going to make everything click and get me the fast results. But the truth is, the things that brought me the most progress were by far the most boring things possible. I stopped changing my workouts all the time. I started training harder. I kept my meals simple. I focused on recovery, and I repeated the basics. And that is when my body went from this after 2 years in the gym to this by year 3, and now I look like this. I never found any secret or some weird method that just got me the physique that I have today. I need you to understand that fitness does not need to be exciting. It just needs to be clear, repeatable, and something that you can live with long term. Because if you can live with it, you can keep on doing it. And if you can keep on doing it, you are going to get results. So if your fitness routine feels boring, that might actually be a good sign, because it means it's simple, it's repeatable, and it means that you are not going to have to constantly rely on motivation or some special things to keep on going. The problem is just that most people are quitting because boring does not feel exciting enough and is not what they expected when they wanted to get into fitness. Your body doesn't care if you're entertained. It just wants to respond to what you are repeatedly doing. So stop chasing the routine that looks the coolest and what sounds like it's going to impress the most people, and instead build a routine that you can repeat. Because as I've said several times now, boring works because boring is able to be repeated consistently, and consistency is what drives results. So to end off here, the routine that changes your body is usually not the one that looks the most impressive or is going to sound the best to the most people. It's the one that you can follow when your life is normal, when you're busy, when you're tired, and when your motivation is not necessarily high. That is going to be the routine that lasts and drives your results long term. If you are interested in seeing how all of this fits together, I've actually broken it down for you in a video linked below. It is my full system broken down step by step when it comes to training, nutrition, recovery, all of the things that built my physique that I have today. And if you want help applying this to your own situation, I also do offer one-on-one coaching. It's linked in the description below too. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and you learned something. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.